Welcome back to Donuts in Space and part 9 of the HMS Daring build. Didn't mean to leave the last update on a little bit of a cliffhanger there. It was just one of those things. I didn't realise how long the video was getting, so I just thought, oh well, I'll stop it there and just, start again. But yeah, as you can see by me fiddling around on the base with a cocktail stick, getting a little bit of dust off, the resin's actually now set. Took 3 days to set. Never known it before myself, really, to be fair. I mean, I know that it's a big area, but it's shallow, which basically means that it should set relatively quickly because of the surface area rather than the depth. Never mind. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it. On the instructions, it does actually say that you've got a working time of between 60 to 90 minutes. Now, I think I poured the resin, must have been about 10:30 in the evening. Or no, not that late. It was about 9 o'clock in the evening I poured the resin, as it was just as the wifey was going to bed. So yeah, I got that poured at about, so it would have been about 9 o'clock I poured it. And I woke up the next morning and the resin that I got left over in this little pot, that's actually still soft nearly 4 days later. I mean, I can literally, I don't know whether you'll see it, but you can literally squeeze that like that, and you know, it will come back out again, but it's not solid. I would imagine that's going to take another day or so to set completely before I can take it out the pot. But I always, when I've got a little bit of leftover resin, it's always good just to keep it around, because you can gauge how long this is, how well this is doing. And this morning I came in and noticed that that was quite solid. So I risked it for a biscuit and just, like on the inside of the bow, I just prodded it with a cocktail stick and it kind of didn't go anywhere. So I then kind of gingerly prodded it with my finger and it was alright. So I flicked it and it felt absolutely solid, and it is. This has actually been up on its side most of the day whilst I've been doing other things. So yeah, she's done on the base anyway. What I need to do, I had a leak as well actually, and I can't believe it. If I turn it up the other way, I had a leak come through just there where the wires are, and I put so much stuff around that I was confident that it wasn't going to leak, but it did. And as you can see, I've got a big line there where you can see the puddle of resin that was there. There was a bit of wood this underneath that I had, so it wasn't resting on the wires, and yeah, it was just a big puddle of resin, and you can see how well it's cleaned the board. So top tip, if you need your mats to be cleaned off really well to get rid of any paint or whatever on there, just pour some resin on there and let it set and then peel it off, and Bob's your uncle. You got a nice clean mat. You don't need to go out and buy a new one. Yeah, but there you go. Yeah, this is it's all set. We've had a little accident as well here, as you can most probably see. Basically, I thought the ship was absolutely straight, and it wasn't until the ship went into the resin that I suddenly realised, damn, it's not. It was there was a list to the port, so I put a can on this, and it was on there for 3 days. I thought it would be perfectly fine, but it's actually, you can see the rim of where the can was, where it's actually lifted up all the paint right down to the plastic in these 2 areas here, and it's actually destroyed the decals in that area and around there as well. So I'm going to have to tidy that up as best as I can, and then redo these decals in paint, most probably, to be fair. I don't know yet. See how brave I feel. And then I've just, once I've got those areas done, I can then just basically get it re-lacquered, and hopefully that'll be fine. I think in some respects, if there's any damage on there, any imperfections, I think it's only going to add to the realism actually of the deck. But she's not looking too bad, to be fair. If I get the Merlin helicopter and just quickly plonk her on the deck like so, yeah, I think that's going to look pretty sweet. So the next job for me to do on this wee beastie, if I can get hold of this helicopter, is to basically put the bottom bits of wood in. This is the one that that it leaked on, and you can actually see the pattern of the cutting mat on there as well. You can see it's kind of like, you know, hanging out over the sides. So I'm just going to sand that down because I'm never going to get all of that off, to be fair. So I'm just going to sand the sides down, and this one can sort of go on at the back, and then that bit will go on the inside. The bit of wood that's hasn't got any issues with it will actually go on the front. So one of the things that I need to do with this is just take a measurement of the three-way slide switch, drill the holes in this bit of wood for that, then I can get them glued on to the bottom side. I just need to measure these properly, to be fair, because with these bits of wood I only want them coming out about halfway. So you've got that, I mean, I'll have it at about there, so it's just resting over the actual back of the frame, something like that, but then with these sides coming in halfway, so you've got that big lip there, so it kind of appears to be that it's actually floating more than anything else. And then I'll be able to get me my wee little battery in as well, and get the power hooked up properly to the lights on the inside of the ship. And then once that bit's done, in fact what I'm going to do before I even attempt to do that actually is, because I don't want to damage the surface, even though there's more stuff going on the surface, I don't want to damage it in any way, shape or form. So I'm just going to get the, well, I'm not sure whether you get this stuff in America or not, to be fair, but I'll just be using this stuff. It's called Frog Tape. It's a brand, I suppose, more than anything else, but it's really for painters, and it is a fairly expensive one. It's kind of more upmarket than the blue painter's tape. Yeah, so I'm just going to put loads of that over the kit to over the base to make sure that the top doesn't get damaged at all. We did have a little bit of seepage down here as well for some reason, and I don't know why, because this was absolutely spot on level. I've got this, well, it's a digital, I can't even say the word, protractor, that's it, I got it. So I do have problems with some words. You'd never believe that I used to see a speech therapist when I was a child. But yeah, I've got one of those. So with that, you can make sure that absolutely everything is level. And that's, sorry, excuse me, that's basically what I did. Is when I put this down, and just before I poured the resin, I got that out to make sure that everywhere was flat, and it wasn't. So I just shored it up with little bits of styrene, stock styrene card here, and a little bit there, and the wedge end of a pair of tweezers there, so to speak, you know, just to make sure that it was dead level, and each corner was at 0.00. So I'm not sure how I managed to get that over there, but never mind. These things happen. If anything, I mean, it's it is noticeable, but it's not noticeable at the same time. So what I can do is, I suppose, before I start any of the wave work, I can just run a bead of tape across there, and sort of like across there and this area where you've got a bit as well, and just kind of run a little bit of matte clear coat over it, and that should sort that out and bring that back down to the hue that it should be. I kind of like this frame actually. It's a bit mottled and a little bit sort of like worn for wear, chipped and stuff, and I like that actually. I didn't think I'd actually bought that one, but I did. And the other thing that came in today for this, I'm not going to sort of get the whole thing out, but we now have the perspex to make the lid for this wee beastie, because I don't want this kit, with the amount of photo etch that's on it, I don't want it exposed to the dust, because you're never going to be able to clean it properly. You know, with some of the Star Trek kits it's not quite so bad, because you can sort of dust those and they're not really that delicate, but with this and the amount of photo etch that's going to be on it, I do not want that getting dusty at all. So I bought the perspex online. That was pre-cut for me, to be fair. I got it from the Plastic Man, is it? I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, the plastic. Let me have a look. I can't see. Yeah, theplasticman.co.uk. And that was cheap actually, to actually have that cut down to size. So you've got obviously the two sides there, and then, you know, the front and the back, and then the top. So that's 5 bits of styrene. And the front and the back parts are 500 millimeters in length, and then 180 millimeters tall, and then the two sides are let me think now, 244 millimeters in length, and then 180. And the reason why the side ones are a bit odd is because this styrene the perspex is actually 3 millimeters thick, so you kind of have to deduct the thickness of the front and the back off the side, so it still sits around nicely. And then we've got the top part, which is 500 by 250, so that will just sit nicely on top and then protect the whole thing. So I'm quite happy that that's come in, because what I can do is I can actually get, once I've got all the basey parts built and I've got all the power going to it, etc., I can then get that built, so when I'm not working on the kit I can just put the lid on it, so I know that it's going to be absolutely perfectly safe in there and nothing can actually get to it. So that's where we are at the moment. So I will come back to you as soon as I've got all of the bottom bits on and all of the wiring wired, all of the voodoo magic-y electricery bits and bobs sorted out. Well, we've got a bit more work done to this wee beastie that I thought I'd share with you. So I think the most noticeable part is the fact that we got the base covered with tape to protect it, because I knew that if I didn't, I'd get paint everywhere and I'd gouge it and scratch it and stuff. I mean, any scratches on the surface, as long as they're not deep, wouldn't really matter anyway, because of all the other stuff that's going on excuse me, going on top. So from that point of view, not quite so bad. But we definitely didn't want to get any paint or anything on it. We've already got a little bit on there anyways from the Aztec, no, not the Aztec, the Tamiya panel line accent colour, that's the one. But we've got a few other pieces done as well. The aerial on the back, that's been put in now, but what I've had to do is, because these parts on the kit, A, are kind of more square than round, but B, also thin to the point that the way that they've actually got these on the sprue with rather large contact points in like 4 different places, which is absurd if you ask me. It's very difficult to take those off without actually breaking them. Even with a sharp blade, it can be difficult. And plus the fact, because they didn't look right in the first place, I just decided, what the hell, it doesn't really matter. So I've just replaced them with a 0.5mm rod, matched the length of the aerials to what the kit supplied. Whether that's right or wrong, who knows, but that's what I've done. Also, what I've done with the aerials is the rod itself, I've chucked, or I put that in the chuck on the drill and tightened it right down, and then basically gone along with a sanding stick and just sanded it down until you start to see a visible taper on it, and rounded the end as well, just to make it look a bit more realistic. I've also done the same with the parts that are on here as well. I'm not going to bother putting those on until such time that the superstructure that goes here is on, and that will be the last bit to go, because I've got the photo etch that needs to go on here first, and I'm going to need lots of elbow room to get those on, especially with my fat sausage fingers. And the fact that I know that when I'm concentrating on those areas, I will lose situational awareness, and most probably end up stuffing up the photo etch that's already been put on there. So I will be putting that part of the superstructure on last. Apart from that, we've got the little radar thingamajiggy bob on the back of the hangar bay there. That's in and looking good. This just needs to be painted. The aerials that go up here need to be painted, so they're done. And I've also got all of the details now on top of the bridge. A couple of those just need a little bit of extra paint on those to help them blend in. Then they need to be, everything on top of the bridge, regardless, will need to be treated with the to me a clear lacquer. And also these new decals that are on as well will need a quick spray down with a little bit of clear lacquer as well. I've done some weathering to the ship, and in places it's way too heavy, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lighten that up by going along with a very fine sort of mist coat of the light grey, the light ghost grey, to cover some of that up. And I'm just going to get some pastels, I think, actually, and just do a little bit of weathering with those. And I've still got a couple of holes on the top of the sensor dome there to cover up. But overall she's not looking too bad. As I said, the last thing, one of the last, well, we've got the back as well done. We've replaced the stripes that have gone wrong there, so I just need to recoat that again in the lacquer, clear lacquer, and then I can do a little bit more weathering to this to bring it all back. But the repair on that is actually looking quite good. This line here on the back of the deck, I purposely left that broken, because that just kind of adds to the whole weathering effect on that. So, you know, I just thought, well, I'll leave that because that looks quite good. And once I've done that, I just do it, as I say, a little bit more weathering on that, and that'll be fine. Apart from that, we've got the decals on for the 30 cal gun platforms, the health and safety gone mad ones. It's as though, you know, you've got the military professionals that use these for a living and know how deadly they are, and know not to step anywhere near it if somebody's using the weapon. But the health and safety rivet counters, no, you must have warning signs on there to say that that's a gun and it's dangerous. Yeah, okay, whatever. But yeah, so we got those in. We've also got the ship's crest on either side of the smokestack, if that's what they're still called, I don't know, but I think they might be, even though they don't really smoke these days, too many filters. And then we've also got the couple of decals on either side of the missile silo, and we've also got the decal on the two decals, sorry, on the main deck gun. But yeah, we're getting there slowly but surely. More weathering to do, to be fair. I need to do a little bit more rust weathering, and as I say, I just need to spray the ship down in and around this area of the superstructure and along the hull, just to lighten up some of the weathering that we've got on there, because it's just way too dark. It looks as though the ship's never been taken care of. Other that, or it's been on a really long voyage of about sort of 5 years. So yeah, just sort those bits out where I went a little bit too heavy, and then hopefully everything will be fine. So I'm going to call this video quits, and I will catch up with you in, I do believe, part 11, where hopefully we would have got most of the stuff done to this, because I think it's getting to that point now really where we need to think about getting this finished so we can move on to the Kent. I don't want this build to carry on forever and ever and ever, even though I am enjoying it. Even though this kit is proving, well no, the kit actually isn't proving to be a pain in the bum, to be fair. I've got to say, it's not too bad. It's not actually as much of a pain in the backside. I mean, it's still a pain in the backside, don't get me wrong, but it's not nearly as much of a pain in the backside as I thought it was actually going to be. So I guess that's a blessing in disguise. We take the wins where we can. Anyway guys, that's it. I will catch up with you in part 11. So thanks for watching, and as always, please do take care.